Hey everybody, welcome. You made it to FMT100. We're going to be starting off with safety on Chapter 1. I keep calling them Unit 1, so just work with me. So we're going to keep moving on, and what we're going to come away with is at the end of this unit, you'll understand the importance of personal protective equipment, be able to demonstrate the proper procedure for lifting. Yeah, all we got is a video for it. Use lockout, tag out when needed. List several general electrical safety practices. We've got a lab for that one. We're going to discuss the proper use of safety belts, scaffolds, and ladders. Identify all the organizations that govern the safety of hazardous material, also known as an alphabet soup, and list the different classes of fire and the proper methods of extinguishing a fire. So, workplace safety. It's actually an ongoing thing. You just don't start safety and then end it. It's always ongoing. And one of the ways I describe it is situational awareness. They say survey the surrounding area. It all means the same thing. What we're supposed to do is we are to keep our head on a pivot. We're always to be looking around and asking the what if. Hey, is this going to be a problem? Um, is this going to be a problem? If I do this, what's going to happen? That kind of thing. So we're always assessing what's going on. And what we're looking for is unsafe conditions, either currently or that could be created in our actions. And if we see an unsafe condition, we correct it. One of the easiest ways they're saying is eliminate horseplay. Uh, it's when they say horseplay, they mean like the physical slapstick comedy. They're not saying don't have fun at work. That's not what they're saying. They're saying don't do the slapstick comedy. Uh, you can still have a good time, keep each other's spirits up and whatnot, especially when the day just is dragging on. But you can still do that. You can still have a good time. You just don't do the slapstick. So our work environment. This kind of comes under housekeeping. So they keep the area clean. In this case, look, if there's a spill, cordon off the area where the spills, you clean up the spill, dispose of it as properly. If you've just got a bunch of litter and debris on the floor, clean them up. If you've got a bunch of like sawdust and things like that, sweep them up. Keep the area clean. If you grab a tool or a piece of equipment, put it back where you got it from. That way, there's not equipment and tools left all over the work area as well. So all you're trying to do is make sure that you reduce the amount of areas for slipping and tripping hazards. And by this also, you are reducing any buildup of fuels that could cause a fire hazard. And while we're on the topic of fire hazards, if we've got hazardous material, as we use that hazardous material, we need to be aware of it, and we need to put it back in its proper storage area. If the hazardous material is in current use, then it can stay out. But once we're done using it, it needs to go back. So that way we reduce the exposure of hazardous material. One of the ways we protect ourselves from hazardous materials and just hazards in general is through protective equipment. And specifically, we're looking at personal protective equipment as this is the stuff that we wear. And while we've got everything up on the screen, I am going to bounce all around, at least according to that. What I do is the head to toe. All right, it's an easy way to make sure I've got everything in place that I need as I go out on the floor or as I go out into a mechanical space. So if I have a place that requires a hard hat, most of the places I've been require one. So I make sure I have the hard hat. Most of your hard hats are going to be rated at least for top impact protection as well as electrical protection. Some of the places like the biofuel refinery I worked at have the additional requirement that it is flame and heat resistant. So there's that. Make sure you wear the hard hat properly. Don't flip it around. Remember, we're not here for fashion. We're here for safety. While we're still at the head, I'm going for eye protection. If you're out on the floor, if you're out in the mechanical space, safety glasses are on. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Safety glasses go on. So here's my thing. Employers are supposed to provide you a selection of safety glasses. You try them on and find which ones are most comfortable. If they're comfortable, you wear them. If your employer does not have any glasses that you find particularly comfortable, go out and buy your own. I know there's some that are going to be all upset about that, but here's my thing. If your safety glasses are comfortable, you will wear them. When your safety glasses become so scratched that they are a hazard to see through, you replace them. Now, in this case, if you bought your own, you go out and buy another pair and you ask the company for a pair of safety glasses. So every time you get a new pair of safety glasses, whether you're buying it yourself, you're always asking the company for a new pair. All right. Hey, if they want to turn in the old one, turn in the ones that you bought, that's fine. You can't use them anymore anyway. They do you no good. Hearing protection. Yeah, companies also provide that. Hearing protection is nice. Most of the time, it's just the disposable earplugs. Awesome. Earplugs offer great protection. They're disposable, so you don't have to worry about sanitation issues. If you do have reusable ones, please make sure you clean them. Yeah, it's going to be a little dirty, but clean hearing protection is the way to go, because if it goes inside your ear is prone to infections. Now, to go around that, there are some places that just use the muffs or the Mouse ears or Mickey ears, and those go on the outside of the ears. So those are all right. They have some of their limitations, just like everything else, but don't be surprised if you're asked to double up. So use the plugs and the muffs at the same time. It happens. The refinery was one of those places, and then anytime I was in the engine room on a ship, I also doubled up. Look, once the hearing's gone, that's it. So protect it at all cost. Speaking about other things that you really want to protect, your hands. So gloves are the way to go. I tend to wear leather gloves for just about everything I do. Provides really good abrasion and cut resistance, mild on the puncture, but it is what it is. So leather gloves for me are the way to go. They are comfortable fitting. They're not too tight, not too loose. They're just comfortable, and I make sure I always have a pair on, like I do right now. So I also live and work on a farm, so I always have a set of gloves on me. It's a farm. So you'll find the same as you are working in and about a plant floor or mechanical space. Just have your gloves either handy or on. All right. Now, that said, there are particular gloves that cover for specialty areas. Chemical resistance also happens to be another one. So you may need to use chemical resistant gloves. Nitrile gloves tend to be the most common for that. So that's awesome. But keep in mind, most chemical gloves are not that great at cut and puncture resistance. So you're going to have to put on an outer protective glove. There's our leather gloves. The catch is if our outer gloves become contaminated with whatever hazardous material we're working with, those gloves need to be thrown away. Just throw them away along with your chemical resistant gloves and get new ones. As you see, running theme, have a second pair of gloves, hearing protection, and eye protection. Last but not least, cold weather. Cold weather protective equipment. It sounds odd. If you end up working in an industrial refrigeration site, you're going to be walking around in basically large freezers that are the size of like small houses. So you're going to want to stay nice and warm. And the same is true if you happen to find yourself working outside in really, really inclement weather. You're going to want some form of clothing that'll help protect you. And the best option for that is to dress in layers. So that way you can adjust your layers to suit your activity and the environmental needs. Last but not least, stopping at the toes. Steel-toed shoes. I should say safety shoes or safety boots. Boots are preferred because they also provide ankle support, but I'll just say shoes in general. I'm saying safety toe in general because there are also composite toes out there that are great for electricians. You'll also may need to be required to have oil resistant and slip resistant shoes, as well as puncture and electrical resistant shoes. So, ton of things out there. So just to keep that in mind. Now, while we're doing all this, we've got to look spiffy. Well, because we're professionals and we enjoy what we do. For that end, no loose clothing. I'm not saying it has to be skin tight. Actually, I'm saying the opposite. It needs to be comfortable and allow you full range of movement comfortably. But your clothing should not be so loose as it becomes a safety hazard. You can trip over really loose or long legs. They can get snagged on stuff that could throw you off balance, cause you to trip and fall, or it could get sucked in the machinery. So, comfortable, well-fitting clothing. Long hair is I I don't have a personal preference. I've got long hair myself, not long enough where it needs to be tucked, but long hair nonetheless. If you happen to have long hair, keep it. Just make sure it's pulled back away from your face and can be tucked easily into a shirt or in some other way to keep it tucked so it's controlled. Tucking it underneath a hat is another way to go, but don't tuck it underneath a hard hat. That would defeat a lot of the way the hard hats work. I know. Hey, long hair also goes for facial hair. So if you've got a long goatee or a long beard like I do, I've got a long goatee, that needs to be controlled and made sure it stays out of the way. I tend to wear I either tuck it into my shirt or I will wear a neck gaiter and keep the goatee in a neck gaiter so it stays controlled. And here's the one that always causes a lot of frustration: jewelry. So necklaces, keep them in your shirt. Uh, Rings and watches, I don't wear any rings just because, well, some of the places I put my hands, it's not a good thing to wear. For jewelry, I do wear a watch, but my watch is a silicone band, so it's non-conductive, it's chemical resistant, and it's nice and squishy enough where if it were to get caught, it will fail and not pull, hopefully, my entire hand into a problem area. I would recommend that you do the same. Metal jewelry, not the world's greatest thing for our trades. I know some are going to be, but I'm married. I've been happily married for 25 years. I think I wore my wedding band a total of a year or two. That's it. And even then, I was a park ranger, and I soon learned not to wear it just because even park rangers kind of suck for a lot of our jewelry things because they get in the way, especially when you're doing shovels and cutting fire lines. Yeah. Anyway, speaking about touchy points, pinch points. So pinch points are nothing more where two pieces of equipment come together and can cause a problem. We've got rotating and pressing. Rotating literally means the two items are spinning. These are the guys that if you get caught up, they will pull you in. So once again, if you're working within an area of rotating equipment, your shirt sleeves are rolled up, so they're not in the way. No gloves, and you do your best to keep all the guards on while you're in that area. If it's a rotating shaft, don't touch it. There is absolutely no point in taking the risk. Don't touch a rotating shaft. I don't care if the unit's on or off. If it's shaft is spinning, you don't touch it. Pressing point. Ugh. This is where two surfaces are pressed together or even bypass. Pressing points, they're a compression type injury. Those are no bueno. Let's just say things can get crushed until they're a irreparable mess. I'm going to leave that at that and leave it to your imagination. Lifting. Um, Ask yourself if is it too heavy. If it's too heavy, you go get help. If it's too heavy, yeah, time to go grab a dolly or a truck, hand truck. There's nothing wrong with that. Do you have good footing? Are you going to be able to lift and move this thing properly and not slip and fall? Sounds odd. If you are lifting something and moving it and it begins to slip and fall, you let it fall. Don't try and catch it. If you try and catch it, you will jack up your back. It will hurt. It will be a pain you will not forget. I assure you. Been there, done that. Don't want the t-shirt. Keep your back straight when you're lifting and make sure you lift with your legs. I will also give you this suggestion: Look forward, look straight ahead as you begin to lift. If you look down, you arch your back. You don't want to do that. Look straight ahead, think, lift with your legs, and away you go. And I already mentioned, if it's too heavy, use a buddy. Buddies are nice. Uh, we can keep an eye out for each other. However, there are times where we can't do that. A lot of places are now running on a skeleton crew, so they may only have one or two maintenance personnel on the entire plant or on just that one section of the floor. Can you still do your job? Yeah, easy. You just have to stay in communication. Now, ideally, radios be the way to go. However, not everybody wants to use or can afford a radio, so we have to revert to the old-fashioned system of going actually to someone and talking to them directly. Just let them know, hey, I'm going to be working in this area. I'm working on a conveyor belt, and I needed to redo the motor. I've got to grease it up. It's not having a good day, and I need to do some current checks on it. So I'm looking at maybe an hour or so. Come back and check on me if I don't make it to break. Hey, come find me. That kind of thing. And when you're done, yeah, let them know I'm done. I'm moving on to the next task. Also, it's also good to know what to do in the event of emergency, like your buddy's injured or whatever. What are you going to do? It's best to know these type of things, how the company wants you to respond before it happens, whether it's a fire, earthquake, whatever. Know what is expected of you to do before the event happens. So that is the general stuff. The good news is we're going to go to the next section, which is going to be electrical safety, and we will pick up from there. All right, so keep hanging in there, and I'll be right back.